Hi there, this is Jennifer with Brome Fields, and today we're working on some slippers. And I have some We Are Knitters yarn here with my size 17. So 17 12 millimeter knitting needles. They're Leikes. And I'm just going to make the smallest ones to give you guys an idea of how to bring them all together. So we're going to cast on 6 stitches and I make a loop. I'm going to get a little bit more of a tail. So that's my first stitch, second stitch, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I like the long tail cast on method because it's the easiest for me. So I have my 6 stitches and we're going to be knitting in the magic loop method. So that means I'm going to take half of my stitches and we're going to put them on each needle. So I'm going to take this, and I have 40-inch cables. You do not need 40-inch cables. It's just, I have a pair of 24 and a pair of 40 length cables, and 32 might work better, but I don't have any 32-inch cables. So this is my cast on tail, and this is my working yarn. And the cast on tail, you want to keep it underneath at the bottom. And your working yarn, you want it to be on the top in the center always. And it's kind of hard. I always seem to get them all flipped around. It seemed to work all right this time, but usually I have them all flipped around. But you want your stitches to face the center. And then I bring them together so they go down to the bottom. And we have to keep that tail or the working yarn in the middle of your needles. If you go have it on the back side, then it will create an elongated stitch and it will not look very good at all. So we're going to take this back needle and pull it out, but not all the way. So we keep that on, tail on that side. And I always pull this first stitch to where it's like completely gone, and that really helps me not have ladders in my work, so it doesn't create a gap where it comes together. So on your first round, you're just gonna knit. So we're gonna knit all these stitches. And then we're going to flip that. So this working needle becomes our back needle, and we're going to push, resist the temptation to pull it from the cable because sometimes they break. And I really kind of have to push it in. Sometimes I actually have to pull this back one out to get this in. And I'd rather it be a little snug than a little loose. So we're going to do the same thing now. We're going to do the same thing on the other half. So I'm going to pull that first stitch tight, and then we're going to knit these 3 stitches. So it's all 6 stitches, which is 1 round. And we're going to put that working needle in the back again. So sometimes you can just do that, but once it gets tight, then you want to definitely push it through. But see how that's really tight? So you could pull that out to make it easier to push in. See that stitch? It just loosened right up. And the yarn needs to stay on the top and the center. And we'll pull that. So when your tail is back on the right side, that means you're starting a new round. So you don't have to use a place marker whenever you're knitting in the round. But later on you will weave this in, and then I would put a stitch marker here and leave it there, like a replaceable or removable stitch marker, safety pin, yarn, so you know that this is the side that you started on. It's not completely 100% important, probably not really important at all, but I don't know. if you're picky like me a little bit, then it's helpful. So round 2, this is where we're going to do our increase stitches. Now you can do it however you want and whatever works best for you. I'm just going to show you what I like to do and what works best for me. So I'm going to knit 1 and then increase 1. And how I increase 1 is I go into this stitch below and I knit into it, and then I'm going to knit that stitch in the middle, and then I'm going to knit 1 below that stitch. So I'm going to put that stitch on my needle and I'm going to knit into it, and then I'm going to knit that last stitch. So we increased 2 stitches. And I really like that. See, there's a little bit of a gap there, but you can close that up. On the second round, there's really, just very little gap in these. I'm just very happy with that increase. But use whatever increase. If you like a different increase, use whatever you're comfortable with. If you just want to use a backwards loop, and then if it leaves a gap, you can go through and seam it up. That's fine. Just whatever works for you. I just want to show you guys what I do and what I like doing. I haven't seen this type of increase, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So we'll do it again on this side so you can see it again. So I'm going to knit 1 stitch, and then I'm going to pick up the stitch below and knit into it. And then I'm going to knit 1 stitch, and then I'm going to pick up the stitch below, put it on the needle, and I'm going to knit into it, and then knit that last stitch. So now watch that 100 times. That's what I would do to make sure that I get it. Oh, sorry, that was probably really loud. But that is how I increase the stitches, and depending on your size, how many times you'll need to do that, 2 or 3. I have wide feet. I think I increased mine 4 times. But you don't, however it fits you is really what is important. And then I gave an estimate on how long to make them. Now if you're making them as a gift, just keep in mind that they stretch a lot. So it's probably, I would recommend going on the shorter side so that they will stretch out and not fall off. If you go on the big side, then they can still grow into them if they're kids. But I think being a little on the small side so that they're a little snug is maybe a little safer. But if you're making them for yourself, you can just try them on as you go. So I hope you guys found that to be helpful, and I hope you guys love your new slippers, and thank you guys so much for watching.